Welcome back to beyoungministry.blogspot.com, to another blog and a podcast out of the Gospel according to Luke. Today we're in Luke chapter 6, verses 24 through 26, actually 23 through 26. I'm just getting the context. Rejoice in that day and leap for joy, because great is your reward in heaven. For that is how your ancestors treated the prophets. But woe to you who are rich, for you have already received your comfort. Woe to you who are well fed now, for you will be hungry. Woe to you who laugh now, for you will mourn and weep. Woe to you when someone speaks well of you, for that is how their ancestors treated the false prophets. That's Luke chapter 6, verses 23 through 26. When rebellion entered mankind's existence, all of mankind became sinners, separated from God, alienated from God. We by nature have been placed outside of what is really real. We deal with this unreality, this fallen default mode, by either resorting to being religious or to continue in our rebellion. In both of these cases, we are self-dependent, and this is at the root of our problem. Knowing we cannot remedy our condition, the Lord Jesus agreed to come to earth to buy mankind back into a personal relationship with God through his death on the cross. When the Lord Jesus came and squared off with death at the cross, he devastated the illusion that we have to perform to gain a personal relationship with God. Through his sacrifice and his sacrifice alone, those who enter into a personal relationship with God are the people who are overwhelmed with their sinfulness and who cry out to him for help and believe on the Lord Jesus' sacrifice for God's forgiveness. Those who eventuate in heaven are those who are broken by the reality of their fallen condition and inability to remedy our spiritual problem. We learned in Luke 6:20 through 23 that poverty, hunger, sorrow, and rejection are all blessings in disguise, because they are all potentially leading us to the blessing of a personal relationship with God. Just because we're impoverished, hungry, sorrowful, and we've been rejected doesn't mean that this automatically happens. This merely becomes the diving board into leaping into the sovereignty of God. In today's text, we learn that one's trust in riches, religion, and popularity all lead to a cursed disposition that leads one further and further away from God. Need is not something we would naturally prescribe for ourselves, yet it is our need that causes us to entertain the real questions of our existence. In Luke 6:20 through 26, the Lord Jesus provides a paradox between blessing and cursing. In verse 23, we read, "Rejoice in that day and leap for joy, because great is your reward in heaven. For that is how their ancestors treated the prophets. For those who embrace their brokenness and the gospel of the Lord Jesus Christ, there is reason to leap for joy, because we will be on the winning side in the end, despite the fact that for some time we will be hated by the world." The four blessings in verses 20 through 23 are contrasted with the four woes or curses in verses 24 through 26. If our lives are filled with just hoarding wealth and going from one entertainment thing to another, and it's all about pleasure and entertainment, these woes or curses will be our experience. On the other hand, according to verses 24 through 26, those who resist the gospel of Jesus Christ, for those who reject the free gift of God of forgiveness, for those being defined by the blessings of this world, there awaits a series of woes. In verse 24 we read, "But woe to you who are rich, for you have already received your comfort." The religious leaders who hounded the Lord Jesus were all rich, and their sole ambition was to attain fame and riches and status. They received what they went after and were now experiencing its comfort to its full. Unfortunately, their comfort produced an emptiness of soul and spirit with no hope of hope. In verse 25 we read, "Woe to you who are now, for you will go hungry. The gluttons of the day will be so filled that all desire for food will be lost. They will spend eternity hungering for satisfaction and meaning, but will remain in a state of spiritual starvation." In verse 26 we read, "Woe to you when everyone speaks well of you, for that is how their ancestors treated the false prophets." The assumption in this verse is speaking what the crowds want to hear in contrast to the truth. We should be forewarned that the crowds need to hear the truth, and sometimes they will not like us for that message. In Luke 6:20 through 26, we are given a contrast between self-dependence and God dependence. The rich have a tendency to trust in their money and its influence to solve their problems. Of course, the issue is not their riches, the issue is their trust, or the object of their trust. They also can enjoy the worldly pleasures at their leisure, and they often do. God is not usually in their thinking. When this is the case, they have been dumped by a false narrative which does not deliver in the end. The poor have no such options. The poor have no such options. Thus, they are more likely to seek out God and His provision. Of course, there's no guarantee here. Money comes and goes, but God's love and His provision is there at all times and in all places. That's the beauty of the Christian life. Anticipating God's provision. He's promised. He will not renege on His promises. But sometimes it looks as though He has. And then He does something miraculous and we see Him. See, that's what it's about. It's not about the blessings. It's about the blesser. Depending on Him to provide in this world is a means to an end, and the end is realizing a personal relationship with the God of creation now, not just in eternity. In fact, the only life worth living is found in a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. My friends, I trust this blog and this podcast are useful to you in your walk with the Lord. If I can answer any of your questions or help you, shoot me an email at beyoungministry@gmail.com. Hey, have a great day.